World War I veteran George Seitz disappeared from Jamaica, Queens in 1976.
Death of World War I veteran is solved after 43 years. George Clarence Seitz, cold case. On December 10, 1976, George Clarence Seitz, an 81-year-old World War I veteran, left his home in Jamaica, Queens, to get a nice haircut at a barber shop nearby. The next day, the old man disappeared without a trace, leaving nothing behind. For the next 40 years, no one would know the answers to these questions. Where did he go? When did he leave the house? What could have happened to him? In 2022, it was found out that the World War I veteran was murdered, and the case finally solved after 43 years. Jamaica is one of the counties in Queens, New York, with the most different ethnic groups. Because of this, it has a very lively feel. George Clarence Seitz was the only veteran of World War I who lived in Jamaica for a long time. Even though it seemed to many people on the outside that the combat veteran lived his life on his own terms, he chose to keep his personal life secret and lived alone in a nice home. Seitz's life was not easy, and like the lives of thousands of other people, the ugliness and cruelty of war left an indelible mark on him. Seitz had a lot of problems with PTSD and paranoia because of his time in the military. He would often dress up like he was going to work, but he would just walk around the neighborhood. Things got so bad that Seitz didn't even trust banks and always carried large amounts of cash on him. Even though he was still mentally sharp, he never forgot about his daily tasks because he was a disciplined man. No one ever thought he would just disappear without a trace. On December 10, 1976, around 10 a.m., he went to a nearby barber shop to get a haircut. This barber shop was only 2.5 blocks away from his home in Jamaica. He didn't go home that day, and he also didn't go home the next day or the day after that. No one saw or heard from him again. Seitz's family didn't tell the police he was missing until 5 days after he went missing. However, the police started their search as soon as they could. Even though this was true, there wasn't much to go on because Seitz had left behind no evidence at all. The detectives could only make guesses about what might have happened to him. At the time, officials didn't even know for sure if he went to the barbershop or not. Deputies did a lot of interviews to try and find out more, but the leads were too weak to follow up on, and the case went cold quickly. The Queens County Sheriff's Office, the NYPD, and the FBI all tried many times to solve it, but they were never able to figure it out. The case was finally solved in a way that nobody saw coming. A woman who was now in her 50s saw a horrible murder happen and had kept the secret for more than 40 years. In March 2019, she called the 102nd Precinct Detective Squad to report a crime that happened decades ago. The call was answered by Eric Contreras, who was a homicide detective in Queens South at the time. He had been a cop for 9 years and a detective. Contreras was born 12 years after the old man went missing, but he has always been very interested in the case. When the woman told the detective what she saw, they got chills. She said that she was sexually abused when she was only 11 years old. In December 1976, she was living in the home when she saw the boyfriend and her mother cut up a body and bury the pieces in the home's backyard. Even though she couldn't figure out who the victim was, she remembered the details of the crime very well and told the police where it happened. When asked why she kept quiet for so long, she said she was afraid of retaliation. Martin Mata, who has lived in Jamaica for a long time, was found to be the mother's boyfriend. Martin Mata and his brother both owned a barbershop in Jamaica. The barbershop was only open from the late 1970s to the early 1980s, and George Seitz, who was a regular customer, was last seen there. Seitz went missing in 1976, and the barbershop closed soon after. Even though the woman's story was hard to believe, it was also so detailed that the police decided to start a thorough search of the property. On March 12, 2019, the police raided Martin Mata's house, which was only 2.5 miles from the closed barbershop. It didn't take long for the people looking for the body to find parts of it in a makeshift grave that had been buried under concrete. The witness told the police that the backyard was surrounded by a wooden fence, so that's where they looked for the body. After cadaver dogs looked through the backyard and found a likely spot, forensic anthropologists from the Emergency Services Unit started digging. It didn't take long for the searchers to find the pieces of human bones. the exact spot where the witness said it would be, but only the pelvis and part of the torso were found there because the rest of the body had been cut off at the neck, shoulders, and hips. The NYPD used genetic DNA technology to try to figure out who the victim was. However, there seemed to be something wrong with the situation at the time. The Queens County District Attorney's Office, the NYPD, and the FBI office in New York City all contact Othram, a private lab that specializes in genetic genealogy and DNA sequencing to find people. The FBI agreed to help with the investigation because there was nothing in the law that stopped them from doing so. Even though the bones were in a very bad state of decay, Othram was able to get DNA from them and make a complete DNA profile. The lab was asked to do advanced DNA testing that would help figure out who the murder victim was. The profile didn't match anyone in any of local state or national databases, so the investigation couldn't move forward. The enigma surrounding the identity of the victim, the DNA profile was used to find out as much as possible about the family history and to make a family tree based on genetic ties. The search results showed that the victim's family still lived in the state of Ohio and California, which was good news. Detectives Contreras and Gaines from the Queens South Homicide Squad flew right out to Ohio to talk to them. The family knew right away that this had something to do with their missing relative, and they told the detectives that George had disappeared after going to get a haircut. Since George Clarence Seitz's DNA was used to confirm that the body was his family has been wondering what happened to him. His family also gave a picture of him when he was young and in uniform as a soldier. After further investigation using NYPD archives and microfiche, detectives were able to find a missing person. Report prepared for George Seitz in the year 1976 to tie up any loose ends. Even though it had been more than 40 years, the witness confirmed that it was the same person she had seen Martin Mata cut up. The family had some things to say about what happened. It was thought that Mata killed the old man by stabbing him in the head as soon as he walked into the barber shop, and then stole $7,000 to $8,000 from him because he knew that Seitz always carried a lot of cash with him. The only thing left to figure out was why. People could be able to see how much money he had on him. Detective Contreras later said that the long investigation took place over the course of 2 years and in more than 5 states. This is because the witness came forward for the first time in November 2021. The owner of the Jamaica home where 75-year-old Martin Mata was arrested says that Mata would stay there sometimes as a favor to a friend. Mata was taken to the Queens County District Attorney's Office, where he was charged with murdering someone on purpose. After his arraignment, he was put into jail. Even so, they can't be charged with anything else because the time limit has passed. Mata admitted to manslaughter in October 2022, and on November 7, 2022, he was given a 20-year prison sentence for the murder that happened in 1976. He stayed away from the law for 46 years, but he was finally caught after he admitted his guilt. We can only hope that putting the killer in jail and figuring out who killed him will give his family some peace. What do you think about this sad story? Martin Mata is being punished for the cruel things he did, but that doesn't take away the pain he caused this family. With that, we have come to the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and guys, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and also press the bell icon so you can watch the upcoming videos. Also, share your thoughts in the comment box.